Alright, so this is my CSC 106 final code explanation. So there's right here we have current scene being set to 1. Excuse me. The current scene is set to 1, which is like the splash screen or the start screen. We have our star count, which is our like point system, just as 0 right at the start, so we can easily change that later. And then same with the health, because we want these also the same every time you start the game over again, so it doesn't hurt to have them up here. And then all of this is just Bitmoji code. It draws in me and Cody's Bitmoji. We had one little issue when we first put them in together where we had the same names for like a couple of our the parts of our Bitmojis, and that was really messing it up. But we figured that out pretty quickly. So all the things that I have in mind, we had to put Cody's name in front of his just so like it would work. And then we get through all of that, and oh my god, there's a lot of Bitmoji code. And then we get to the start of the actual game, which is all of the draw functions. So we have the draw function for the avatar, which is the character that shows up on the screen right there. And then we have a cardinal. We were going to do a little bird thing in the daytime, but we decided to just let the player kind of get used to it in this scene, and then when they get to the next one, they can worry about avoiding enemies. So we still have the function, and we still have all of the things, so we could technically call it, it's just we didn't feel like it really fit. So this just designs all the cardinal. Then we have our alien. This is the design of the alien. And of course, we have our parameters just so we can change them based on a location. So we can change their location smoothly. Then we have our heart, which is used to display how much health you have. We've got the splash star is just the star that goes on the splash screen. And so the scene star, this is the star that's in the actual scene up here. And then avatar, so then we have all of our constructors. So this makes it so that your avatar can actually move because it's changing the Y and the X. Then we have this draws the actual avatar we use, and then that's just like a little bit of hard-coded numbers just so it spawns in the same place. And it's of course using a new avatar. It's using the prototype to draw it before, or the constructor and the prototype to draw it. And then we have these two functions, which are the fly up and the fly down. And then those are called later on whenever if the space bar is pressed or if the space bar is not being pressed. And then we have our check for stars. So this checks if the avatar touched the star, and that's just the numbers that put it in the range we want. And then it sets the star's Y to negative 400, so it's off the screen. And then it also increases the star count by 1, which was defined earlier. And then we have the enemy constructors, so we have the aliens and the alien prototypes to draw them. And we have the array, so that's whenever aliens spawn, they're in this array, and then it pushes new ones in at a random Y, and then we always want them to spawn at the back, so that's why we have this here. It's I, so in the function I times negative 300 minus another additional 300, because that moves them back far enough just to where you can't see them until they start. And then this is just a hit check for the aliens, and then instead of getting a point, you lose health, and then because aliens are the only thing that do damage in the game, we just put the death, as the so-called death screen or death function right in here. So every time you hit, if it checks, and if your health is less than or equal to 0, so if you lost all 3 hearts, it sets you back to the first scene. And this is just the heart constructor. We were going to do more with it originally, but we decided not to. And then these are for the majority of our design things below. We just use that to save numbers, and then we redefine it as we went. And then we have the star. So these are the stars that you actually collect now, the foreground stars. So it's all just regular object-oriented programming type stuff. It pushes in the new stars. Then we have the design for the clouds for the day, because they're different colors, and I'll just set it equal to, so the clouds are different colors there. And then those are, and then we get to the con button code, which is obviously used for the begin journey. So like the play button, we have everything for where to click it, the test for the mouse is inside, what happens when the button is clicked, all of that. And then we originally had 2 buttons, but we have changed it now just to 1, because we took it out of the second. And then we took out the second one. And then of course, it runs the check if mouse. Runs the check whenever the mouse is clicked. Then we get into our scenes. We have our splash screen, which has the design. It puts in our Bitmojis. It has the you died text. We have it twice just so it kind of bold. It makes it a little bit more bolder. The only really crazy thing that happens in this is probably, so there's not much in here. The stuff that's important, we'll go down to the next one. In the game scene day, so that's in this scene, we have what the function that this calls for the stars and checks for the collision, so it checks for hit, and then it also adds speed to the, or not, it doesn't add speed, but it gives them speed by increasing their X value every time. So however many times this runs, it'll increase that, and runs the length of the stars list. So it'll run forever technically. And then so this key is press and key code is 32. That's the space bar. In my avatar's Y is less than 350 because we don't want it going higher than that. It flies up. And then if you hit 350, you just don't go up any higher. And then same difference for if my avatar if it's less than 340, so it's can't get there, it has to make it fall because the key isn't being, so whatever key isn't pressed, it falls. And then this is the thing that actually makes that the avatar fall, it decreases. And then this is like the fall, as in, I'll call it the death fall. So this is if you fall off the screen, you actually your game just ends as it's seen. So that hides the avatar, it puts the avatar back to his regular spot, and then it also puts you back at this screen. And then we have this draws the avatar in. This draws the clouds. This is all just design. And then this is once the star counts, once you collect 15 stars, it changes to the next scene. And then it draws our Bitmoji. And then it's pretty much the same code for the night. We both worked on these code. This was probably the hardest, honestly. I think the hit detection was the hardest. That was hard for us to figure out. But so yeah, and then the only difference in the night is now the aliens are spawning. So it's an alien draw, the alien check for hit, and then the alien add the speed. So this is also where you control the alien speed. So when you go faster, you would increase this. And then it's the same code for flying up and down, for falling, for dying when you go too low, draws avatar. And then we have our end scene, which just puts it when you have to restart the page to get back to the start. This does the algorithm, not the algorithm, but it does the it changes the data, so it's the star count. So however many stars, you always end with 40 plus health times 3. So the more health you have at the end, the more your points goes up. Then so then we have our draw function where we actually have everything actually run. So our main abstractions were definitely functions. Functions and loops really cut down a lot of what would have been a redundant code. Our algorithm, I'd say our most prominent algorithm was probably at the star spawning, just because that is done in both game scenes. While Aliens, I would say Aliens is the other big one, but Aliens is only in one. Well, Stars is